Welcome back, everyone, to Grand Tactician: The Civil War. Thank you to those of you patrons who let me know that there was an issue with your unit. I have corrected all of the issues that I've been made aware of. I replied to your post and let you know where you can find that unit. So we are just about into April 1862, so it's the spring campaign season. Looks like we just got some weapons that have arrived. 32 pieces of 24-pounder howitzers have been delivered. There have been a couple of updates to the beta version of the game, and I believe those include a feature where rather than having to wait, so for example, when I place an order for a certain type of rifle and it says it can take 120 days, rather than having to wait 120 days for those rifles, they're going to arrive a little bit at a time. Over that time period. So that makes things a little smoother when it comes to how we get those weapons. So let's go ahead and take a look at our weapons for a second. Looks like we actually have some really nice cavalry weapons available now. So that's a huge thing. We've got the Burnside carbines, the Frank Wessons, the Smiths. Now those aren't going to work for any of the units that have 2,500 in their cavalry units, but any of the smaller units, I'll definitely be able to apply those to. We could auto-manage weapons purchases, but I kind of like being able to do that myself. Okay, we're going to go ahead and order British rifles, which is going to give us the Enfield musketoons for cavalry, Enfield rifles, rifled muskets for infantry, and the Whitworth rifle, which is really nice for long-range accuracy. So we've now made that available. Let's go into weapons now and see if we can find that thing. It's not showing up yet. It might maybe take a little bit of time for that policy to actually enact. In the meantime, we are working on Diplomacy 4, which is 14 days away. After that, I think I want to go for, is it regulars? No, what I need is the one that's going to allow me to actually make armies instead of just corps, which I thought was one of the military. We don't. Oh, we do have military 2 active. Maybe that's not what it is. Okay, it's actually now a project. So we have to look under the projects. Let's turn off assignable. What we need is the organization reform project in order to be able to do this. It's right here. So we've got to build up our military subsidies, and that will allow us to actually make army levels. So it looks like he has basically abandoned Central Tennessee to my Army of Tennessee. So I'm going to let them chill out here. Fort Scribner's got 6,000 men and 20 guns now. I think they'll be able to hold okay. I'd like to be able to build up this base of supply, but you can see right now, you can see what stored supply they have, 63%. I'm going to try to make a run on Fort Walker Senior Garrison. They've only got 35 troops in there, and that'll allow me to threaten Louisville. In the meantime, my Western Army is over here in Memphis, Tennessee, trying to rebuild their readiness, and the Trans-Mississippi Theater is going to do the same. They're going to get there too. We're going to try to rebuild their readiness, because you see here we've got 5 separate forces that are operating in the Trans-Mississippi Theater right now, while there's really nothing in central Kentucky where I've got 2 armies. So Army of the Northwest is building a supply depot and a fort in around Knoxville. Once they do that, we're going to send them up here into Kentucky, and that'll allow me hopefully to operate with the Army of the Tennessee to help support these armies that need to deal with all of these armies that are in the Trans-Mississippi Theater. And then of course I've got 2 armies in Virginia. Army of Northern Virginia's got 44,000 men now. I might try to get a few more men into the Army of the Shenandoah, since that one only has about 19,000 men. But I'm going to go ahead and send Lee back up. We've got low ammunition right now, but otherwise pretty good readiness. I want to send him back up here to maybe threaten Washington again. Didn't work out so well last time, but I don't see the Union armies. I know they've got to be there somewhere. I just don't see them. So one of the things we don't normally get to see is what happens to enemy officers. Like, we don't get reports about them being killed, wounded, and things like that like we do with our own. But if I look at the monthly reports, which I haven't typically been doing, you can actually see some of that. So I can see right now that they've raised a new squadron near Connecticut, 5 new ships being constructed. I see they've lost Colonel Philip Sheridan in the report, so that must have been in one of the most recent battles, and they're currently working on the policy of United States colored troops. So that all gives us some great information. I'm looking to see what's available right now in military. Rifled artillery is something we could work on, but I'm waiting for that organizational reform, which we need 2 more circles filled on the subsidy funding before we'll get that one. That one takes a lot to be able to get. Most of our units that we sent off to be refit are either back or nearly back. Like 3 days, we'll have almost all of the ones back in the Trans-Mississippi Theater, which will be huge for us. Diplomacy 4 enacted. There we go. That helps a lot. Hopefully that'll start helping with our situation with British intervention. It's going to take a while to get there, and there's some other things we can do to make that happen. We've got diplomacy maxed out. We've been keeping diplomacy maxed out. So let's go ahead now and look at policies. We could support Mexican intervention. That's going to hurt our recruits in Texas, but help European relations by plus 15. That won't nearly get us there, but it would get us closer. But I feel like there are other things we can do that would be more helpful at the moment. The Tariff Act certainly would not help. That would hurt our relations with Europe. Civilian warships, that just allows new things in the Navy. Really, honestly, the Navy hasn't gone well for me, so I'm not going to do much with that. Free trade will give us a plus 10% bonus on European relations, and only takes 18 days. So let's do that. That'll give us 10. We'll get another 15 with Mexican intervention. And then once we are able to start going down the industrialization path a little further, which we probably should do after that, which I unlocked to be able to do, we can get the Slavery Restriction Act toward the end of this year, 1862. Chapter 3 will unlock. That'll give us plus 20 to European relations. And now we're starting to get close enough to where the British might jump in, because we don't have to get it to 100% to make that happen. And then, of course, actually banning slavery, which we can't do until late 1863, would give us a huge bonus. That's 25 to European relations, so if we can hold out that long. Okay, we've spotted all the federal armies that are surrounding Washington, and there are a bunch of them. Let's see if we can get some sense of what we're dealing with. Army of the Potomac has 4,000 men. Army of Pennsylvania, 11,000, so that's 15,000. There's another 7, that's 22. I actually can't separate between the 2 of these to be able to see the difference, so I don't know how many men are in that one. But we could be dealing with a lot. But let's hit them. All right, Lee, let's hit them. We're dealing with a bad food situation. All right, total of 54,000 men. So the one I couldn't see, there was the 35th Army with 13,000 men. Some of these units are pretty small. That 35th Army is going to be 6 hours away, so numbers are going to be pretty even until then. I've got a big advantage in guns, though. So I feel pretty good about this. Yes, I'm outnumbered. Yes, I'll probably have to be on the attack. But I feel like I can do this. Okay, so we're on the Bull Run battlefield, Battle of Alexandria. Makes sense we'd be on the Bull Run battlefield. It's pretty close to here. We are attacking. We don't get a lot of movement out from our starting point. He's going to hold Blackburn's Ford and the McLean Farm. So that's where we're going to be hitting. The problem is he's super close to his entry points, although that doesn't mean that his reinforcements are going to come from there. So we're going to, the good news is we don't have to cross right away. We can move down by the Manassas Gap Railroad or go up through these roads here and come at him, try to take McLean, and then we're probably in a situation where we don't have to take Blackburn's Ford. We can maybe try to dig in and make him hit us. So my initial movement is going to be to place the Highland Division up here just as kind of a screening force on the north while I hold a cav up here. I'm going to put some cav out on my right flank, and I'm going to move the bulk of my army right into this position here. And then we'll start moving them to try and swing around and hit this objective point right there. Looks like the Army of the Potomac has just arrived with some of their troops. Right now we're pretty even on numbers. I've got a slightly higher morale, but it's a negligible difference. Okay, so we have spotted some enemy dug in here on the other side of Island Ford. So Longstreet's division, the All-Australian Volunteers, are going to sit tight right there. They're missing one of their units, and I think that's because I sent them home to refit. That's why they're down to just 3. In the meantime, I did grab this entry point, which was a Union entry point that he could have come up and surprised me. So I grabbed that. I'm sending some cavalry ahead to try and scout and see if he's actually at this objective, because if he's not, we may just go ahead and send the cav up to grab that, and then even grab this entry point right here too. But I think most of the Union forces that we're expecting to arrive have already arrived. No, the 35th Army is still 7 hours away, estimated. So that's going to buy us some time in which the numbers are going to be pretty even. Well, he's estimated to outnumber me by 10,000 already. I'm not entirely sure that's accurate. All right, we're getting our first sight of the enemy now. Ah, he is entering from over there. Okay. So Smith's division is going to get into position right in along here somewhere. The rest of my army is almost into the position that I've ordered them into. We're going to go ahead and send Napoleon's division forward now. And Buckner's as well. He's going to be able to spot my movement, so I might try to go a little further away so where he can't see. Okay, in the meantime, massive Union force crossed up near the Stone Bridge. Exactly why I had Jane Lew irregulars there. So we would be aware of that if it happened. And oh man, he's also crossing right here. So let's immediately move Buckner into position up there. We're going to hold Garnett's cavalry down here and in Smith's division, and I think that's going to have to be enough. We're going to send everybody else this way. I'm going to send Napoleon's division back up here. I'm going to hold the 51st Highland Division right where they are, and I'm going to pull the cav back. So the initial fighting, though, is right here, and it's a mess already. First action for our Highlanders, I believe. They might have fought in the last battle because they're not showing us first action here. Daniel Frost, yeah, Jonathan's Rifles, they've fought before. This is the Australian Volunteers, not the Highlanders. The Highlanders are over here. That's why. All right, so far so good. We get Buckner up here into line. That'll help. I've got all of my artillery currently moving into position over here. So we're going to have to deal with that at some point too. Alright, so far the situation is pretty even in terms of casualties. I really didn't expect him to hit me like that. But we did rout some of them, so that's good. Now let's go ahead and shift a little bit. These guys have Mississippi rifles, nice long range. I'm going to target that artillery specifically. And we're still kind of trying to get in a position over here. I'm going to probably drag some of this artillery right up in here to hold the river there. Still waiting for Smith to get his new orders. Napoleon is getting redeployed to up here. Alright, I'm trying to rush up here with the 1st Australian Volunteers to try and cover this pontoon bridge that he has placed before the 3rd Brigade can get there, and it looks like they may be thinking better about that now that they see me moving there. Nope, he's still going to try it. So we got 1,464 men there. Here comes Buford's cavalry dropping back after their run-in with that massive Union force up in the north. I'm still waiting for everybody to move into position over here. All right, Walker. Facing about even numbers there. All right, Jonathan's rifles lost about 30% so far. Gonna try to rally them, and then we'll... Okay, it looks like the enemy's pulling back there, so we can pull him out and bring up this other division under Buckner. We're still got a mess over here because we're trying to get everybody organized. Napoleon's working his way up there. It's just taking a while for some reason. Another unit that tried to cross is going to get decimated. Alright, Bushrod Johnson and the VMI infantry are going to come up and get into place here. We're going to drop Frost back. Still a big mess trying to get everybody organized. Still trying to get the Highlanders into position. I don't know if they're going to get there in time. And I'm not going to have anybody on my left because Napoleon's division's taken forever to get up there. And here they come. And I can't give any orders to Buford's unit, even one to get him out of the way, which is what I really need right now. So it looks like he's finally pulling back because the enemy's coming down. So we're going to have the Royal Scots Greys with their mixed cavalry weapons holding the center, which is not where I wanted them to be. But it will have to do. Alright, Coleman. He looks like he's actually coming down on us from over here. Alright, we're going to have to send some help up here. Napoleon's not going to get there in time. We're going to have to send some of Buckner's men up to help out. In the meantime, let's make a move on the objective because it looks like it's possibly lightly defended. Alright, Gordon Highlanders are fragmented. That's a problem. We need them to get organized a little better. Royal Scots Greys can't get any fire on them, so that's less than ideal. Let's get these 14-pounder Jameses up here on this hill so they can fire. It looks like the 12-pounder Napoleons are able to. How are we doing, Gordon Highlanders? They're starting to organize. Alright, Black Watch is holding the line over here. They've only got muskets. We've got to get those upgraded after the battle. Big time. Alright, more units coming into position here. He is trying to hug the river and get around me. That's actually pretty brilliant on his part. Alright, I'm going to send Bowen up here. I got to send them where I need them at the moment. And that's where I need them. Alright, Garnet, dismount. Still waiting for Smith's orders. Actually want Garnet to just stay right where he is and dismount. He's facing a small cavalry force of 250 men. He ought to be able to drive them back pretty quickly. He's outnumbering them 10 to 1. Alright, and then we're just going to actually go ahead and dig in right behind this creek while Garnet holds them off a little while. Alright, looks like Another Union effort to try and cross here. I think our Highlanders are going to be able to hold okay. Enough to where I'm not sure we need Napoleon to move in on the left. I think we can probably send his whole division right here. I think we got him. I'm feeling good about this. The quickest way to give orders is just to click on an enemy, because that'll happen instantly. So I think that's going to help doing that. Alright, looking good. Looking real good. Alright, I'm going to send the artillery up here in the center. That way they can help no matter where they are. And we're going to try and come at these guys at this objective now. So Tar Heel rifles are going to come into line right here. Bibb County boys will come in to their left. Seminole scalpers. First action. Only 1,000 men, because we don't have a lot of Florida recruits, unfortunately. Florida was a very sparsely populated state at this point in history. Did not send that many units to the Confederacy. Alright, let's mount up the cav and send them after the artillery. There's not many guns there, but I don't want them firing on Ramsar. Get these guys firing long range. Okay, more units coming down. I'm going to go ahead and move Napoleon with his 1 brigade, the cotton balers, over here to the left to help hold this position. Let's get Bowen's brigade up on this hill. And I think we're in really good shape. 5,000 casualties for the Union. And remember, he has another army coming, so we kind of need to do this before that army arrives, because that's another 13,000 men, but they're arriving in 5 hours. So we've got to complete this victory before they arrive and kind of turn the tables a little bit. And I think we can do that. We might have to press things a bit. 33rd Virginia Emerald Guard and the Fighting Tigers are sticking it to the 1st Brigade right now. Alright, we're going to bring the 1st Australian Volunteers across to deal with this battery. Our Highlanders are doing well. 92nd Foot, they've taken 500 casualties, but they've only got muskets, which is really limiting their range. Hit him. Hit that battery. Alright, I want to bring up the 21st King James Regiment of Foot so we can get some flanking fire into this brigade here. Got a bit of a gap in the line. I don't really like that. I think we could send Pond into that spot with the Florida lead launchers. Alright, we got to move in quickly because he's launching another attack on our left. Alright, these guys are not pressing the attack, and I'm fine with that. I want to hit him where I've got advantages right now. There, we broke Scribner. Alright, I'm a little worried about the Gordon Highlanders. They're probably going to break here. Who do I have I can send to that spot? We've got Pond on the way. I'm just now getting my artillery into position over here. Let's bring Posey up. Let's bring the cotton balers up. Come on, Gordon Highlanders. Hold, hold, hold. Alright, I want to pull Walker back across the river now. Mississippi rifles, nice long range. Black Watch is really facing it right now. Pond's coming up though. Yeah, okay, the Black Watch is breaking. But just in time for Pond to come up. His morale's down to 34. But again, we've got to drive him off before the other army arrives. Absolutely have to. We got Phil Kearney. Kearney, I think is how it's pronounced. Georgia Zouaves, let's send them forward. Alright, we're going to press the attack over here. We need to try and cause a couple more units to break. Let's get dug in with the cotton balers right along this fence right here. Gordon Highlanders are going to break any second now. And that's going to leave a big gap in the center of my line. I'm going to send Armagh Irish over here to fight with them. A lot of Union troops right there. This is where we can win the battle, though. We got to hit these guys and hit them now. Alright, Garnett's calf broke. That's okay. Alright, Ramsey, you gotta turn and face Prentice. There you go. A lot of heavy fire happening now over here. Thankfully, the Gordon Highlanders, we've got them in a place where we can pull them back now. Some of these guns up here. Alright, where are we at? 4,800 casualties for me, 8,500 for him. His morale's down to 29. We're really close now. Just need one or two more enemies to break. That's why I'm putting a lot of pressure on him now. Try and get those last few breaks. Oh, Walker just broke for us. It's alright though. That's why I'm just trying to hold on the left. while I break him on the right. I think we've got it. There's so much going on here. I think he might have just issued his withdrawal orders. He did. There's so much going on, it's really hard to say what all went down. So we're going to have to take a look at it. So there are the final numbers. 6,000 casualties for me, 12,000 for him. That was a huge victory right outside of Washington. So we'll take a look at the units when we get back to the main screen and see who we're giving battle stars out. I think at least 2 for sure, but we'll see if there's any more than that. Victory at Alexandria. That's a major one for us. It's right at the gates of Washington. Doesn't mean we're going to be able to march on the city because it's still pretty heavily fortified and defended by multiple armies that I don't think are all going to fall back. In fact, one of them we didn't even face. So in the meantime, though, we are going to take a look at the Army of Northern Virginia for a couple of reasons. Number one, I need to update some of the weapons. We've got a few units that don't yet have rifles, so we want to clear that up. And then I'm going to look at the performance of some of the units. Okay, first unit getting a battle start today is going to be the 21st King James Regiment of Foot. They took 103 casualties, but inflicted 920. And they were one of the units that was right at the center of the action and performing really well throughout. So we're going to give them a battle star. I also want to look at the Highlanders because the Highland Division took the brunt of that northern attack. They were in a position where it was a no-win situation for them, but they held. They held that huge attack from the left, and that was key in us winning the battle. So I'm looking at the 71st Highland Lightfoot. But honestly, even though the Black Watch broke, they inflicted almost 3-to-1 casualties in the process. And so they inflicted 1,300 casualties. So I like that a lot. So I'm actually going to give one to both the 71st Highland Lightfoot and the 42nd Foot Black Watch. So those will be our other units that we give battle stars to for this one. Both of them, I mean, honestly, it's less about the numbers and more about just the performance and holding a key position in that battle. So big one there. Let's look back at our projects for just a second, because I want to see if we are at the place yet where we can... no, we're not quite there yet. Okay, Army of Shenandoah is very, very close to... in fact, they did just complete the Winchester Depot, which we are now going to upgrade. Fort Brockenborough Garrison. Let's get them some manpower in that garrison immediately, because that's going to actually be, if we can hold a significant garrison in Winchester, that frees us up a lot. It's going to take some significant amount of time for that to happen, but that'll be really, really big for us if we can hold a garrison with maybe 10,000 men and a fort there. That would free us up with the Army of the Shenandoah to do a lot. So we'll do that. Current situation is who was rehabilitated? Colonel James McIntosh. We also have weapons delivered, 64 14-pounder Jameses. Let's look at the new month. 200 men have been recruited in 2 brigades. That's not very much. They're still working on U.S. colored troops. Their focus, they completed railroad construction and suppressed population. The morale of their armies has gone up 16% as of recent, and they did lose Brigadier General William F. Rogers. Indicates the enemy is consolidating and regrouping. So that's a lot of really important information in that monthly report that we get. In the meantime, I'm just looking. There are some supply alerts. Army of the Shenandoah is in a bad situation in terms of ammo. The Western Army is as well. In fact, let's go over and look at those armies for a second. That's our Western Army and our Trans-Mississippi Theater Army. Western Army's at the place readiness-wise that they can go ahead and build a depot now. We need desperately some more supplies here. And we're in the process of building a hospital there as well. Army of Tennessee is in the middle of this ongoing siege that isn't going particularly well because there's 3 federal corps there. They've got a substantial number of men. So I think we're going to try to withdraw from that. That's not going to let me withdraw from that. Colored Union troops have been recruited. Come on, let me pull out. I don't want to auto-resolve the assault. Okay, we're going to retreat. The good news, though, is that we actually inflicted 4,000 casualties on the enemy in that fight for Fort Walker, which is that fort there. 165 killed, 751 captured. We lost 178 killed and 289 missing. Morale is stable. 661 enemy soldiers have been paroled as no prison camps were available. So that's a problem that we need to rectify as quickly as we can. So let's go to our federal buildings here for a second. We need to build some prison camps in and around Nashville to help with this issue of not being able to hold on to these troops. I think one prison camp only holds a small number, so we may need to upgrade that once it's completed. All right, I'm going to wrap it up right here. I know we only had just the one major battle, but it went on for a while, and we had a lot to deal with in that one. So let me know your thoughts. Use the comment section below. Going to be taking about a week off as I am headed to Belgium in a couple of days. So you'll see a bit of a break in the gaming, but I'll be coming back ready to go when I return. Thanks for watching.